So panel 2, building the strong community network for veterans. The speakers here, Francisco Martinez, the veteran client of Mission United of Broward County. Cisco, as he'd like to be called, Cisco Martinez enlisted in the Army when he was 19 years old. He served as a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne. The Department of Defense requires that the division remain ready to respond to crisis contingencies anywhere in the world within 18 hours. He deployed to Afghanistan during Operation Enduring Freedom and separated from the military with an honorable discharge. He used the GI Bill to earn an associate degree with his commercial driver license, built a successful post-military career and comfortable life, as it says here. He's been working for a long-haul trucking company for 4 months when he was injured on the job. Because he could no longer work, he lost everything and found himself homeless. Cisco visited his local VA to address his injury, and they connected him with the United Way of Broward County Mission, Broward County's Mission United. Cisco has joined today's panel to describe the services that he received from Mission United and how they helped him get back on his feet. He's now a UPS truck driver, family man, and Mission United advocate. John Bursler is the executive director of Combined Arms. John was born in Houston, Texas, into a family with a strong history of military service. He enlisted in the United States Marine Corps, where he earned the rank of sergeant. During his time serving our country, John's overseas assignments took him to Iraq, Kuwait, Syria, Jordan, Djibouti, and Kenya. As a non-commissioned officer, he served a combat tour in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom from 2004 to 2005, where he was injured. John received an honorable discharge from the United States Marine Corps in 2007 and went on to complete his bachelor's at Texas A&M University and a master in public administration with a master in public administration degree from the University of Houston. He was the recipient of the prestigious Marshall Memorial Fellowship, where he was tapped to represent the United States in 8 different European countries through a month-long fellowship. And today he's become a strong advocate for veterans after working for the United States Congressman, 2 mayors of Houston, the Wounded Warrior Project, Veteran Energy, Next Stop, and now is the leader for Combined Arms. Nan Heald is the executive director of Pine Tree Legal Aid. She has served as the executive director of Pine Tree Legal Assistance, Maine's oldest and largest civil legal aid provider and an LSC grantee. A high percentage of Maine's residents have military service, and Maine has the highest percentage of veterans living in rural areas, according to VA statistics, which have shaped Pine Tree's emphasis on improving legal services for that client population. Those efforts include development of www.statesidelegal.org as a national clearinghouse site focused on the unique legal needs of military and veteran families, which launched at the White House in 2010, as well as many local initiatives, including the Medical Legal Partnership at Maine's only VA medical center. NAN's participated in numerous ABA initiatives related to the legal needs of veterans and service members, and is currently involved in a veteran-focused project organized by the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. She was recognized as one of the inaugural Law Dragon 500 leading lawyers in America in 2005, and as a White House Champion of Change in 2011, along with the ABA's Grassroots Award in 2015. Stephen Ross is a partner at Holland & Knight. Stephen practices in areas of real estate property law, hotel development and operations, title insurance, and business law. He began his practice of law in 1971, following 2 years of active military service in the Army, including 1 year in Vietnam. Mr. Moss's influence in the veterans community is recognized nationwide, from the White House to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs to the Pentagon, where he has met with and been recognized by the country's leaders. He has spearheaded the growth of Mission United, a United Way Veterans Assistance Program that he has helped found nearly 8 years ago. He serves as Holland & Knight's liaison to the Florida Governor's Initiative, Lawyers Assisting Warriors, and has spent thousands of hours assisting veterans with legal issues on a pro bono basis. Zach Zarnow is Illinois Armed Forces Legal Aid Network Coordinator and Illinois Equal Justice Foundation. Zach joined the Illinois Equal Justice Foundation as a program director in January 2016, taking on the task of developing, monitoring, and evaluating IEJF's initiative to create a statewide military personnel and veterans legal assistance hotline and coordinated network of legal support services. The program is funded under the Public Act 99-0281 and is overseen by the Illinois Access to Civil Justice Council. Zach relocated in July 2019 and currently oversees the Illinois Armed Forces Legal Aid Network for the IEJF on a contract basis. He's focused his career on increasing access to justice. After graduating from Brandeis University, Zach spent 2 years in the Eastern Ukraine as a Peace Corps community development volunteer, where he developed civil society networks, established social enterprises, and created anti-corruption initiatives. The experience drove him to enroll in American University's Washington College of Law, where he focused his studies on access to justice, human rights, and legal empowerment. During law school and after he held fellowships and positions with the ABA's Rule of Law Initiative, the Open Society Foundations, Public Justice, and the American Association for Justice. Immediately following, or immediately prior to joining IEJF, Zach was a policy analyst at the Council for Court Excellence in Washington, D.C., and in that capacity, he managed a comprehensive effort to reform the jury trial process in D.C. And our moderator today is Lara Eilhart, Senior Attorney, Office of General Counsel for the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. As an attorney, the VA's Office of General Counsel since 2011. Ms. Eilhart has led the department in connecting veterans with free legal services for assisting, by assisting in the establishment of more than 170 free legal clinics in Virginia facilities, or VA's facilities nationwide. In 2016, she co-founded the VA's Medical Legal Partnership, the MLP Task Force, which has nurtured at least 30 VA MLPs at VA healthcare sites. She also serves as VA's pro bono liaison to the Interagency Pro Bono Working Group, establishing the first pro bono policy in her office in 2014 to allow attorneys to volunteer their time for legal aid. In addition, she provides legal advice for VA healthcare and homeless programs. And she graduated with honors from the University of Virginia and obtained her JD from the University of California, Berkeley School of Law, where she worked in criminal defense and medical legal clinics. With that, let me turn it over to Laura.
Thanks so much, Rich. So we're going to kick off today's conversation with veteran Cisco Martinez's story. And before he gets started, Stephen, I wanted to ask if you could tell us just a little bit about Mission United Broward County first.
Thank you, Lara. Mission United is a United Way initiative, which started with the United Way of Broward County a little over 7 years ago. Broward County is Greater Fort Lauderdale, for those of y'all who don't know. To date, it has expanded to 25 communities throughout the country. Mission United is a holistic approach to assisting veterans and their families navigate the system and reacclimate to civilian life. Mission United, by direct services and in collaboration with other organizations, such as Combined Arms based in Houston and IVMF based in Syracuse, and other community resources, provides up to 6 pillars of service: housing, employment, education, pro bono legal assistance, healthcare and mental health, and financial stability. Like Combined Arms and IVMF America Serves, Mission United is effectively and efficiently connecting veterans and their families to the services they need in their communities, providing coordinated services through strong community networks, leaving egos at the door, working closely with the VA, and providing warm handoffs to other organizations so that the priority is always on the veteran and family members. Francisco Cisco Martinez was a veteran client of Mission United of the United Way of Broward County. He now volunteers with Mission United to assist other veterans and their families. Cisco, as you heard, served in the Army's 82nd Airborne, was a paratrooper, and served in Afghanistan. Cisco is a terrific person, and we have become very good friends. I'm delighted that he has joined us today to tell his compelling story.
Thank you, Stephen. Well, like they said, I joined the Army in 2001, and I got out after I served in Afghanistan in Operation Enduring Freedom in 2003. I did what I had to do. I wasn't a lifer, so I went home, to New York. And from there, I used my GI Bill to go into college, like most of us do. And I succeeded. I got my degree, an associate's degree in marketing management, applied science. And I used that. I got married, had a house. So I was doing great. Had a sales position. I was in charge of, had people underneath me, supervisor. I was doing good in life, And so I wasn't having no problems right away. For many years, I was doing all right. I had a music career going on, was getting flown back and forth to California from New York. I was going to LA, back to New York, Fort Lauderdale, San Francisco. Everything was going great in my favor. But as like things don't work out sometimes, and the music went down, the marriage fell through, and I ended up in Fort Lauderdale. So in Fort Lauderdale, this was in 2012. So from 2003 to 2012, I'm doing okay, no problem. But life happens to all of us. So me and my girlfriend at the time, we were both working, and we decided, hey, I think we could do better. I always had this dream. Let's see if we could go get trucking. So I used my post 9/11 GI Bill, and I went to school. She did too, and we both got a Class A CDLs to go over the road trucking. 18-wheelers and see the country. I thought I would love it. She did travel the country. Save some money, not paying no bills. So we got rid of our apartment, had no bills, just on the road trucking. Well, when we were out there, I got injured. I had injury on the road and dislocated my arm and all this. It just didn't work out the way it was supposed to. So that was done with the trucking. So me and my ex found ourselves coming back to Florida. We got to Florida, and now we're in 2014. 2014, got to Florida. We don't got an apartment. All of our things, all of our clothes are in our cars. And no job, no money coming in. I got a dislocated arm, so I can't do nothing. I'm trying, So we get a place. It's a week-to-week apartment. It's like a hotel, week-to-week, trying to survive. Kitchen, cooking food on the floor with, electric burners and things of that nature. All our stuff in our clothes, in our cars. So I had to go to the VA hospital, struggling, like, what am I going to do next? What's happening? So I go to the VA hospital here in Broward County, and I explained the situation, what's happening. I ain't got no food. I'm trying to get on my feet, but I really don't know where to go from here. So they right away introduced me to they gave me the information from Mission United. And they go to Mission United, they help veterans, and veterans in your situation. And you fall in, they might be able to help you right away. So I said, okay. So I went, made an appointment, went to Mission United the same day. And man, they were so nice to me, Before I even gave them my DD-214 or anything, they gave me cards for Publix so I can go get some food so we can eat, and it was just a blessing, and I was having, I didn't know up from down at that point. What am I going to do? And they kind of led the way. They said, well, look, come back, because I started explaining, man, I'm having tooth problems. I had a tooth decay, it was hurt, everything was going bad. At this time, oh, no, what's happening? So they started explaining, well, we can help you. We'll help you get housing. We can have whatever you need. We'll help. Just trust us. I was like, all right. And I have a hard time trusting you because a lot of people, I said this before, and I'll say it again, a lot of people say they're going to help. And they don't. You know, it's just a lot of people all talk. But Mission United really helped out. So anyway, so at the time now, here I go. You know, I started working 2 jobs. My arm was getting healed. I was working 2 jobs. I was cleaning pools and I was a security guard. And still, man, week to week, trying to get out of this predicament, you know, whatever. But they got me in control of housing. Michigan got me to call housing. And they were like, all right, look around for apartments, and we can do the down payment, first, second, last month, you know, pay the electricity, whatever you need. So awesome. So I found the apartment, you know, found something, and it was quick, man. They got me the deposit, got me out the streets, got me in the apartment, paid the security deposit, paid the deposit for the gas. You know, and even during the time I was thinking of, you know, trying to, you know, get on my feet and save some money, you know, they paid the next month of rent, you know, so I could keep, they didn't want me to, you know, stop, they wanted me to breathe and focus and moving forward they did. So meanwhile, I'm still working my 2 full-time jobs, and the missionary said, all right, we got this career workshop. We'd like you to go check it out. The career workshop, we're gonna help you build your resume and give you a career coach, you know, just make a better job. You know, I'm working 2 full-time jobs, barely getting sleep and not moving, you know. But so I went to the career shop, and that's when I met my career coach named Olivera. And she works for human resources at UPS. So they asked us to pick a career coach, and for some reason I picked her. She was drawn to me. And she went through my resume. She went, you know, and then she said, well, you know, she said, we got a position opening up pretty soon for a driver for UPS. And you know, they don't normally hire anybody from within, but every once in a while we'll hire a veteran for the union allows it. And, you know, so I was like, all right, cool. So she helped me right away to get it. I got all the paperwork, started studying for that. In the meantime, I went to the dentist, you know, got my teeth fixed up. And by the way, at that time, man, my teeth were hurting so bad. Mission United, the dentist was pro bono, took care of it. I had to get a root canal. So they did that free, hooked me up, cleaned my teeth and everything. It was awesome. It was a blessing. But to this day, because I'm with UPS and I got hired, you know, I ended up getting some of the best insurance that we can have, you know. And I never forgot that dentist. And I kept, it's a little dry, but I kept him as my dentist. So as my situation got better, and I never forgot what he did for me. I mean, let's be realistic. Not everybody does everything. Just he did. I'm sure it was he wanted to help out, but you know, he got a customer for life because of that. You know, he got my teeth pro bono. I got good insurance now. I go see him all the time. Stephen Moss, a great man who talked earlier, a great friend of mine, a mentor. He's trying to help. You know, he's helping me as much as he can because I got aspirations. Me and my wife, you know, we got a good career now with UPS, and you know, make some money and whatnot, and get into the real estate market. That's what we're doing now. But you know, Stephen Moss has always been there, a great man. You know, he throughout the time when I was growing up, he gave me tickets to a Bills game. You know, the season tickets that you want to go, and gave for me and my family to go watch the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins. Man, we went to the Buffalo Sabres games, hockey. You know, they made sure that I kept my morale high throughout this whole process. Even when I finally bought a house. You know, with UPS, man, it's awesome, man. I got married, got my son, was able to buy a house. And I called Stephen and I said, hey, you know, I need a lawyer. Is there any way that they can help me with Mission United and whatnot? Well, the funny thing was that at that point, I bought the house this year, is that I no longer qualify for Mission United because they helped me above and beyond. I'm doing great now because of Mission United. And of course, hard work on my end too. It takes 2 to tango, you know. But so he said, but I know a lawyer. So I called the lawyer up, and she, you know, she's with Mission United. but she just because she knows Steven and we're good friends, she did it for free, man. She helped did the paperwork for the lawyer, and so we got these lasting relationships that we're building over here, and you know they're so good to the veterans. You know, we all want to hand up. You know, a lot of us we don't want handouts, man. A lot of us, a lot that I know, don't want hand. We just want to hand up. You know, because all hard times happen to a lot of us when least expected. You know, we get a hand up and there's no stopping us. We'll be there and spread the word and be like now. You know, anytime Mission United needs me, I'm gonna be there for them. I'm gonna help them out. You know, so I don't even know that Mission United has done so much for me, and I don't know what else to say. There's just that's all I got really. They've done a lot. Oh, they had us go to the mayor gala down here. You know, me and my wife got before I was struggling to help me get a tux. People at pro bono bought me a tux. I got a tux now. You know, to go over here and eat fancy with all the rich people. You know, I'm gonna be rich like all them too eventually. But you know, it was a good time, man. You know, and I'm just thankful for Mission United and everything that they've done for us.
Cisco, thank you so much for sharing your story. I have to agree with you that Stephen Moss is a great man. and I'm going to have to ask him a follow-up question. So Stephen, so Cisco just mentioned, you know, how Mission United helped him find housing. And as I understand it, you know, Mission United is a SSVF Supportive Services for Veteran Families participant. So can you tell us did Cisco participate in the program, and can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, thank you, Lara. Thank you so much. Yeah, Cisco did participate in the SFVF grant to the United Way of Broward County for housing after living in his car, and he was in the program about 7 months. It's a phenomenal program. It's a grant program of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, headed by John Kuhn as its national director. It's an outstanding program that provides housing and related services to veterans and their families who are either homeless or at imminent risk of becoming homeless. Services are provided based on an individual need, and the eligibility includes a veteran with at least 1 day of active military service, discharge status of anything other than dishonorable, and a household income from all sources must not exceed 50% of the area mean income. The services are widespread, and they include rental assistance, utility fee payment assistance, deposits, rental security, utility, moving costs, transportation. If you have a vehicle and you need car repairs, if you need public transportation, you need child care assistance, expenses for employment. If you need uniforms or tools for employment, they're all provided by the grant. And they have general housing stability assistance. So they'll help with bed frames and mattresses and utensils that are needed so you can start your household. And it includes emergency services as well. Baby formula, food, winter clothing if you don't have it. It really is that hand up to the veteran and family members to get them going again. Our United Way in Broward County provides legal assistance over and above what the SFVF provides, emergency housing assistance, and housing placement. We work with landlords in our community to place veterans and their families in housing, help them find employment, move up the employment ladder so they can afford to live where they are. And the success rate has been about 90%. The United Way of Broward County has received over $14 million over the last 7 years in the SFVF grants, providing housing and services for over 3,000 veterans and their families in our community. It's a very successful program, and we're proud to be a part of it.
Thank you, Stephen. That's a great summary of how SSVF has such an impact. I know that program really well in my role at VA and work with John Kuhn a lot. And I want to point everyone's attention to the chat box where LSC has put a few links for SSVF's program, their website, and also a flyer, sort of, you know, for folks who may be serving veterans, and you know, they can call the hotline number on there if they have a veteran need. And I also want to point to that last link that lists the Veterans Justice Outreach Program that some of folks have already mentioned that on the earlier panel, which lists all of the Veterans Justice Outreach social workers that and by actual location. And it also links to a list of all of VA's legal clinics and medical legal partnerships that we are affiliated with or if not hosting now on site. So those are some great resources to learn more about SSVF and the other VA legal clinics. And I want to turn now to John. So Mission United actually has a lot of similarities with your organization, John. Can you tell us a bit about Combined Arms and how Combined Arms and Mission United work together in your community?
Yeah, we partner with Mission United in a couple locations throughout the state of Texas and in other areas like Florida, of course, in order to really make sure that veterans and their families are connected to those critically needed resources ranging from housing to food assistance, financial assistance, mental health and mental wellness, all of the really critically needed resources for some of the most at-risk clients and their families. But we kind of pair that with another part of our model, which is focused on everything outside of the really hot, vulnerable population needs, employment, entrepreneurship resources, social connectivity to other veterans, volunteer opportunities, like these types of things that really kind of catch more veteran clients and their families into a lot of these programs. And in case they may need the more at-risk or the vulnerable population services, then that's when we pivot them to our partners at Mission United. So they're very complementary. It's almost like in the military, we call it like intersecting fields of fire, but the best way to think about it is like overlaying bus maps, is really making sure that federal agencies can talk to state agencies and state agencies can talk to the community-based nonprofit organizations to ensure that they're more holistically served.
Could you tell us a bit more how you built your network for Combined Arms and what sparked the idea? And kind of part of that, like how did you even get partners on board to bring people into that network?
We really kind of started with data. Because data never lies, and it tells a really great story of what the biggest challenges are. So we asked not only the veterans and their families what their biggest challenges were in that sometimes difficult transition from military to civilian life, but also what the veteran serving organizations, what their biggest challenges were. So the veterans and the families, the clients, they basically said that there's too much noise out there. There's too many resources. It's too difficult to navigate that extensive system of resources and find out what I'm eligible for. And on the veteran serving organization side, they reported that we don't know what the agency on our left and our right does, how to properly refer and share clients, how to share data, how to share best practices, and how to collaborate. So Combined Arms essentially solved for both of those major problems by making it easier for the clients to access the resources provided by the agencies, be that government or nonprofit, and actually hold those agencies accountable for the speed and efficiency by which they deliver those services. So our system, the custom workflows that we built into our Salesforce platform, when a veteran clicks that easy button for legal services, so Lone Star Legal Aid is our greatest partner here in the state of Texas, and they're on our second floor of our transition center. So anytime a veteran comes through and accesses them as a service, Lone Star Legal Aid has 96 hours to get back to that veteran and wrap their arms around them. The average response time by number of hours is around 27. So there's a dramatic change in behavior, and we've seen a shift in speed and efficiency and delivery of those services. And VA itself, so a veteran can navigate that system and also get connected to VA, and VA is usually getting back before 24 hours in order to enroll them into healthcare. So, and we know that prevents all kinds of negative outcomes from occurring along the spectrum. So it's all really about prevention, and we can't do that without the partnerships that we fostered, without creating the the ecosystem and the landscape that we've curated, and kind of getting everyone to not only buy into the system, not in terms of financial resources, it doesn't cost anything, but wanting to hold themselves accountable, wanting to share clients, wanting to share data, wanting to collaborate, wanting to do joint funding and joint grants together, like all kinds of behavior change that I think was truly needed in what used to be a highly fragmented system of social services.
You know, I think another good example that I want to turn to that, you know, another type of network that's been built is with Pine Tree Legal Assistance. Thanks, John. I'm going to turn to Nan now.
Thank you.
And so, you know, as we know, not every veteran lives in an urban area or near a VA hospital or has these, you know, connections already. So Nan, what is Pine Tree Legal Assistance, and how did you build such a network for rural veterans in Maine?
Thanks, Lara. I'm actually feeling envious listening to my colleagues in other states about the close relationships that they have there, because in a small, although we're large by New England standards, but in a small state with about 1.3 million people, in which frankly most people live in rural parts of the state. What passes for a big city in Maine is 60,000 people. So you don't have the opportunity to have these sort of co-located upstairs, downstairs relationships. You have to find other ways to find your client population. We're advantaged by the fact that we opened our doors in 1967. So we've been around for a long time. People know who we are. They know what we do. We have strong name recognition, and we've served people with military service from the very beginning of our operations. We've never had enough staff to meet the demand for help. That, I think everybody has that problem. We have that problem in spades in Maine. So what we have to do is find other ways to get information to people, to let them know what their rights are, even if we can't serve them. Client education was a part of our service delivery model from the beginning. In 1996, we were the first legal aid program in the country to put up a website with self-help information on it. And PTLA.org continues to be one of the most popular websites, very well known in Maine and frankly outside of Maine, for providing self-help information on a wide array of legal problems, so that even if we can never say yes to the client, we trust that the information we've written at a 5th grade reading level will help them understand what their situation is and what they should do next. We also work in partnership with libraries and a lot of community agencies all over the state to get that information out. So we do trainings for their staff and on all of these common legal needs, and we used to provide handouts of our material, just to put it out there and make it accessible. We found about 10 years ago, a local funder that was willing to allow us to add a special section on veterans issues, which coincided with when we were really starting to ramp up to serve this client population with some new funding, including SSVF, an SSVF contract. And so we were able to add a special tab just for veterans on our state website, and that inspired us to work with the Legal Services Corporation to launch Stateside Legal, because at that point in time, there wasn't really a legal aid, a clearinghouse website just focused on legal issues for veterans, service members, and their families. So all of those things have helped, but the things that are real problems that I find in Maine are, one, that the veteran community, as folks have already mentioned, as Cisco mentioned, don't understand that the problems they're having are legal problems. So you really need to do a lot of outreach. And sometimes, candidly, our staff didn't understand that the people we were working with were veterans. So we now consistently ask everybody if they have military service, so that our staff can plug that into our calculus of how to serve the individual. And so we can really marshal all the resources that might be available from other partners to serve that person's needs. The VA issued a report in 2017 that talked about the number of veterans living in rural areas around the country. And as was mentioned, Maine is #1 in that list, which isn't surprising to us. But again, it complicates finding those people. So we started finding people who don't have access to the internet, that are living, you know, way out in the woods in Maine, or on an island in Maine without access. And the way to reach those people is through connecting to whoever they might be working with. And it may be the local laundromat or a grocery store. It may be another nonprofit agency. It may be through a Head Start program. You have to really be creative in finding partnerships with people. We work with our State Bureau of Veteran Services to make sure that their staff knew what we do, and vice versa. Our LSE board chair, John Levy, encouraged all of the grantees to start partnering with the vet centers back in 2010. And that's also been a really important group to serve because they have fewer limitations than the VA does for certain kinds of services offered to veterans. We have, until COVID disrupted it, participated in an annual stand down in Maine where people are actually transported to our state VA facility, which is in the center of Maine, on one day, and they have service tables set up, and you basically walk through a line and you talk to people about your tax problems, and you talk to people about your legal problems and about your housing and clothing. And that has brought people to our attention that probably didn't know about Pine Tree or didn't even know that legal services was something that they might be eligible for. We also have a medical legal partnership with our VA facility. And one of the things that's been really helpful for us is, again, because we're, you know, folks don't live near that facility, is that we've been able to use telehealth in partnership with our colleagues at the VA so that we can serve people at the CBOCs. There are 5 or 6 in Maine. So they can be 3 or 4 hour drive away from the VA. We have a clinic in the VA and we can actually provide direct services to them through that system. We've done a lot of work with women who are sometimes not, don't feel as comfortable being served by the veteran service organizations, who may assume that they themselves don't have military service. And so we've actually reached out to some groups that are very specifically focused on the needs of women vets to serve them. Maine has community networks that meet in different communities around the state and then support a statewide conference every year, and we participate in that. I think it's really just being very creative about all the different places that you could possibly connect to someone and making sure they know what you do and how you do it.
I'm going to take questions at the end. So we'll entertain and ask the panelists questions at the end. If anyone has questions now, you're welcome to drop it in the chat box as we hear from the panelists. Nan, I'm going to just shift gears for a moment. I'm going to come right back to you though, so we can hear from everyone before it gets too late. So Zach, I wanted to ask you if you could tell us about Illinois Armed Forces Legal Aid Network, how it came about, how it's grown. And I think that's really helpful because a lot of times folks, we hear about how great an organization is and how great the network is, but the story of how it got started and how it could get started somewhere is helpful. So that would be great. Zach?
So ILAFLAN, or the Illinois Armed Forces Legal Aid Network, is a project of the Illinois Equal Justice Foundation. And the way it came about was that for years, and many years ago, a group of access to justice advocates worked really hard to draft and pass legislation in the state of Illinois that does 3 main things. And if you're interested, you can see the legislation itself on our website, which I think will be put in chat. So the first thing it does is it lays out kind of the broad idea of what we're supposed to build: a hotline of some kind and a network of some kind to help veterans with their civil legal problems. The second thing it did was it created an oversight council, 7 members appointed by different entities across the state, And almost all those council members are veterans themselves. And when I talk about the planning, that's really useful. It was really helpful to have that brain trust on hand. And the third thing, which I'll spend a minute on because I'm sure it's of interest to many, is it created a funding mechanism. It instituted a $2 filing fee on all civil legal filings in the state of Illinois. And in the interest of transparency, and to give you an idea what that looks like, first, it's unstable and it's been in decline. Filing fees are variable normal times. Right now, they're declining rapidly, and then court closures doesn't help. So in our first year, that was about 1.24 million, which then decreased to 1.14, and then a little over $1 million. And then this last year that just began, our fourth year, a little less than $1 million. But we are lucky. We work with the wonderful folks at the Veterans Project at the Robert R. McCormick Foundation. And so we've secured sort of a public-private partnership in a way, and we've got funding from them to support this work. And as an entity that works with all these legal aid organizations and as a network of legal aid organizations, what we didn't want to do is a lot of fundraising because we don't want to be in direct competition with those network members. So that legislation's passed. The first thing that the council and I did was we spent about a year really doing a listening tour and taking a needs assessment of sort of what was the state of affairs in Illinois for veterans when it came to their civil legal problems. And like John was saying, we wanted to talk to everyone and anyone, providers, legal aid partners. We found a lot of partners that were helping veterans but didn't realize they were helping veterans. We had a lot of the people that were helping veterans on purpose. But we used this information to guide us as we sort of set this up. You know, how do we decide on an income level, or how do we define a veteran? All the questions we needed to answer to build something that would work. But to something that Cisco said, the thing that we learned that was really the most important from that was how important trust is. There had been a lot of organizations in the past that had told veterans they would help them with this legal issue or another, and for whatever the reason didn't come through. So we started with 9 member organizations and we did nothing. We just worked. We didn't tell anybody about it. We didn't do a soft launch. We did nothing but work and let word of mouth do our advertising for us for about 8 months. And our credo during that time was, try it, give it a try. All that can happen is it doesn't work for you. And if it doesn't work for you, please call me and let me know what about it wasn't working and how we can make it better. So we took those 9 original organizations and grew it to 10. And those 10 received funding to do this work. But what I'm proud of is that we also have 9 affiliate organizations on board that aren't receiving funding at all. And I'll tell you how I pulled that trick off in a second. But our organization is comprised of LSC funded, non-LSC funded, and importantly, we try to meet veterans where they are. So I'll talk about the hotline, but we also have 4 medical legal partnerships that existed prior to the creation of IL-AFLAN, but which we rolled into this network and are utilizing well. So how does it all work? I believe that this little infographic we put together is going to get dropped into the chat so you can take a look. It's got some outputs and incomes, outcomes and impacts. But the high level stuff is we served 11,000 clients in our first 3 years. And our clients have received millions and millions of dollars in financial benefit. And we've helped a lot of people in a way that wasn't possible prior to this. And IL-AFLAN does anything civil you can think of, from adoption to zoning, including VA benefits appeals and discharge upgrades. So before the pandemic, we were getting about 1,400 calls a month. But what I'm really proud of is that even at that call volume, never would a client wait longer than 7 minutes to speak to a lawyer. So 7 minutes or less. And if for some reason there was a spike in call volume at that particular time, at the 10-minute mark of waiting, they'd be able to schedule a call back. And you know, this is not a conversation with a paralegal or a scheduling call or an intake and then we'll call you back. This is in 7 minutes, you're talking to a lawyer, digging right into your problem. There's an initial intake and then it's off to the races. And we do that in collaboration with an organization called Carpals, which was a Cook-only organization, but for this, they stood up a statewide hotline. And they have this really great, highly evolved content management system with over 1,800 solutions they've tested over the years. And using what we learned on that listening tour, we updated those resources to include veteran-specific laws and thinking about the ways that existing laws might be interact with the veteran status. Our needs assessment told us we'd probably have family housing, military benefits, and consumer cases as our top case types. And that's turned out to be true. So we planned correctly. And knowing what we were going to get and having that case management system in place, we're able to resolve 65% of all cases that come to us from the hotline completely over the phone. If there is a referral necessary, we also built out a Salesforce platform with secure communication tools and a really great analytics, data analytics suite. But those organizations I mentioned before that aren't receiving funding to do this, but still came on board, they do it because they love it. They get high quality referrals that have been pre-screened by an attorney, and they get to choose exactly what they want. In our system, they can turn things on or off and say, no family law cases this month, we're full, for example. And to me, that's best for the organizations, and that's also, of course, best for the clients. When we meet them where they are with their MLPs, but what's great about this, as John was saying, this is one-stop shopping. You only need to know one phone number in the state of Illinois to get connected to an attorney and to get your legal issue resolved, and it doesn't matter where you live in the state or where your legal problem is in the state. And I'll just close by saying I think it's really good for the veterans, but I also think it's been really good for the legal aid community. We have brown bags where all of our partners get together and talk, and we're sharing knowledge across the state in a way that I don't think would have happened previously, where an organization in Chicago is regularly talking with an organization down in Carbondale. And that's just not something that was normally going on. That listening tour also, I think, helped the legal aid community because a lot of organizations didn't know they were helping veterans, and by asking them to ask, now they do. So we have much better data collection across the state around who is serving veterans and what those veterans' legal needs look like. And I'll close just by saying, you know, this leaves more bandwidth for other projects because organizations aren't getting inundated with the wrong kinds of calls, but this has also informed our work at the Illinois Equal Justice Foundation. And we're happy to announce that in October, we're using sort of this model to launch a new initiative called New Leaf Illinois. And that's to help people with marijuana-related criminal records expungement issues. So the cascading effects of this we're still starting to see everything we can do. So thanks very much, and I look forward to your questions.
You know, that's just incredible the way you described that platform where other organizations can communicate about the types of cases they're able to take, and the fact that it's all, you know, connected on there in an interface. I think that's like the future. Really, it's incredible. And I wanted to ask you, you mentioned that 65% of the cases are actually resolved over the phone, and wondering how that's been playing out since COVID. During the pandemic, it's obviously much more difficult to reach people. So how has your team been addressing that in terms of the, you know, virtual legal assistance? Has it presented an obstacle given that you're able to do so much over the phone?
It's still challenging. It's a great question. So we did two things sort of immediately in response. One is we recanvassed all of our partners in the community that make referrals to us, and we let them know we're still open. There was sort of a misconception out there that because the courts were closed, that so were we, and that's just not true. So we wanted them all to know they could still get in touch with us and remind them that we were there, which was a good exercise anyways, because people had left positions and we sort of turnover. And then the second thing we did, and this is something that came out of one of those brown bags, I stole this idea from one of our wonderful partner agencies, the Center for Disability and Elder Law. We started asking our clients about their technology capabilities. If we're going to make a referral to someone, or if we're going to work with them remotely, we need to know, are you comfortable on a computer? Do you have an email address? Do you have a computer at home? Have you used Zoom? Would you use Zoom? So we built this into our intake in a really kind of streamlined and informal way, but by doing so, we make sure we're not sending someone to, you know, to a place where they can't actually solve the problem they need to solve because they don't have the ability to do so. Those are our two main adjustments we've made.
I think that'll be really helpful for other providers to see how to navigate that. I want to turn back to Nan because we didn't get to follow up with the question. And so Nan, you've mentioned the importance of law school clinics in various fora, and I wanted to ask you, you know, what do you think the role is of the law school clinics in being a part of a community network for veterans? Because they're a little different than, you know, a legal aid organization. So what do you think their role can be and what they can offer?
Well, what I've seen, Lara, has been just an amazing expansion of resources, right? And that, again, that's my number one big problem, is the lack of resources. So we have clinics, sadly not in every state, but in almost all of the states now, special veterans clinics that don't necessarily have the same income guidelines that we must work with.
Right.
So they can serve people who are 100% disabled and getting VA benefits, who would be over income for Pine Tree's help. They can, one of the ways that we've used them nationally is to, if we have a veteran in Maine who has a child support issue in Illinois, and if I wasn't gonna be smart enough to call Zach's program, then I might look for a law school clinic in Illinois to provide that service. So we've been able to help people who moved to Maine but had a legal problem in another state. And I guess I think the most important thing is that we need people who are passionate about providing legal services to this client population. And the law school clinics are a great place to find people who perhaps are going to become staff attorneys with our programs, and worst case, become pro bono volunteers once they go out and start practicing law somewhere else. So on all of those levels, an amazing, wonderful development.
I agree with Nan. We love our law school clinics. We have all the law school clinics in the state of Illinois are part of our network, and we think that's been a really valuable resource, both to have them as future advocates and also to take on cases because we don't have the capacity. We need them.
No, I just would echo that, the law school clinics have done so much and are a passionate, high energy resource. And a lot of our VA MLPs have been able to hybrid with the law school clinics and a legal aid organization or a pro bono bar association, linked with a law school clinic to be able to provide legal services to veterans in conjunction with VA care. So I think it's certainly a great resource. I did want to turn to questions from the group, if there are any. I know that Nick Hassenfuss, if he is on from Holland and Knight, I'd love to call on you. I know you had a question waiting.
So a bunch of the folks here have talked about establishing relationships. I've noticed in my pro bono practice that it's sometimes extremely hard to find a medical provider to provide a independent medical evaluation, whether that be for a VA disability claim or especially in the case of discharge upgrades related to mental health conditions. How have you found the best way to sort of find pro bono or low bono medical providers that are willing to assist us in claims?
Well, I have a partial answer. And Martin Parsons, who's on the task force, leads SIU, Southern Illinois University's Veterans Legal Clinic. And something that he's done, which I think is really innovative, is work with the medical school. So they have medical students and clinical faculty and staff there, the doctors that work there, to help them do those independent investigations and help them read, mostly to read records at this point to understand them correctly. But I think they're talking about even branching out to having some of those independent evaluations done. And that's, to me, one of the cooler things I've heard of in this space. And I don't, unfortunately, have a lot other to offer you. I'm sorry.
Nick, we've had success down in South Florida as well with working with the medical schools and the osteopath schools. They all have joined in, with Mission United. So that has been a great resource for us through the different educational programs.
I saw a question from Abby Kuzma, so I'm going in order. Who supervises the law school clinics?
I believe that it's the clinic, just as with any law school clinic, it's whatever professor is assigned to that clinic. What has really been evident is that how many of those professors, some of whom have been involved in this task force, are involved in this task force, and others who've been resources to it, themselves are amazing experts in this subject area. And so, they become resources in addition to their students for our programs. The Yale Veterans Clinic developed the discharge upgrade classroom that is on Stateside Legal, which has been incredibly effective as a tool to help people facing discharge upgrades. As just one example.
I'm just answering the basic question somebody said. Who supervises students, law students in law school clinics? The ABA, as its accreditation process of all law schools, requires that a professor supervises the students in the clinic, and there are a whole set of other requirements, including the maximum number that a law professor can supervise, but it will be a law school faculty professor who supervises the students, who is a lawyer.
Holland and Knight in the Boston office, me and our PCS partners started a program where we supervise a veteran law school student doing an externship for credit, and they only work on military and veteran pro bono cases. So for those of you who don't have law schools in your area that have veterans law clinics, but they're law schools, it might be a creative way to help you with taking on more work. If you can supervise a law school student, it's a great opportunity for them as well.
Besides the clinics that the law schools operate, in the area of what's called experiential education, we have internships like you just described, and the students receive credit. They're not receiving pay. And especially with the COVID crisis, most of that is now being done online. And so you don't necessarily have to be in the same city as the law school. So I would look into law schools in your state or geographical area and see to what extent they offer experiential education besides clinics. And that would be a way to obtain it's usually a second-year student who has to have taken a requisite number of credit hours as well as the ethical course for lawyers. And then you may be able to get a student who will work with you long distance, because frankly, a good part of what we're doing in all the law school clinics now is a necessity being done that way.
Hello, everybody. My name is Terry Tottenham. I just wanted to report to you on our veterans program here in Texas. It's called Texas Lawyers for Texas Veterans. I have not grown horns. That is a picture of Bevo, the mascot for the University of Texas, in the background. Texas Lawyers for Texas Veterans was started 10 years ago as an offshoot of the Houston Bar Association's great program in Houston. Through local bar associations and partnering with law schools, veteran service organizations, VA medical centers, our state agency for veterans, the Texas Veterans Commission, we have helped over 40,000 Texas veterans and their families thus far. And we're very interested in coordinating with other states and sharing with you the information that we have developed for our legal clinics, which include 3 pieces of information that have proved to be very helpful. 1, a brochure for lawyers outlining the legal issues that they will be facing if they serve in veterans clinics. Secondly, a brochure geared toward veterans so they will know the services available to them through our legal clinics. And the third and most important piece of information we have is what we call a clinic in a box, which literally contains everything an organization needs to set up a legal clinic in their state or their locale. So we have a very in-depth set of brochures and information that have been developed over this 10-year period that we would love to share with any and all who might be interested.
Thank you, Terry, for that comment. And your organization I've definitely heard of you all, and thank you for contributing. Thanks to all the panelists, and thanks for the discussion, everyone.